Alright guys, it's Lee with Untapped Potential. It's time to do some dailies, which we haven't done in a while, and also our weekly. Mages of the Arena. As a community, win a ton of solo battles. Is that 1,250,000? Yes it is. Well, we're going to contribute at least 4 tonight, as we have to win 4 different duels with a different variety of decks. I don't know what I want to play tonight, so what I've got in my hand, I got a coin, and I was trying to find a quarter, all I could do was a nickel. So first we're going to flip to see which of the first two, whether we do the first Archetypal Paragon or the second one. Heads is first, second is bottom. Okay, so we get a tails, so we're either doing blue-red or blue-green. And if it's blue-red, it might count towards both, except I don't think they fixed that bug yet. Alright, so heads it's blue-red, tails it's green-blue. And it's heads, we're doing blue-red. Okay. My extremely scientific way of testing this out is working flawlessly. Okay, so my decks, we'll create a new one. Last I looked, we still had to use that awful deck wizard, so let's go ahead and win despite ourselves here. Let's go find blue-red. Alright, let's see if we have the right tools. Okay, yes, artifacts matter. So let's not get any. Whirler Rogue goes in because it's just that good. Chief of the Foundry is an auto-include if we are using artifacts. Followed, I would then say, probably by the Scrapyard Mongrels, since they are very capable beaters if you have an artifact out. And Aeronaut Tinkerer, being a powerful flyer, is also good when we have artifacts. So, you are going to put artifacts in our artifact deck, right? Yeah, here we go. Gear for Gearcrafter is of course an include, since it comes with a Flying Thopter. Perilous Mirror is just a little too good not to use in this deck. And yeah, I think a couple copies of Juggernaut wouldn't go amiss either. Aspiring Aeronaut is, well, it's pretty expensive, but he also has flying, so I'd say he's worth it at least as a one of. Let's find room for one more Juggernaut here. I'm not sure I trust this deck enough yet to try to include Esperzoa. But why not? We're here to have fun. So we're going to throw in 2 copies of Esperzoa, and this is the part where we get to round out the deck here. I think this is a deck that might enjoy a Meteorite. 3 Esperzoa too greedy? Yeah, probably, but why not? Okay, so now we're just starting to get into whatever territory. We'll throw an Avaricious Dragon to help refuel our hand as we run out of steam. And even though I think we already have way too many 4-drops for our own good, Separatist Void Mage is good enough to merit an inclusion. We don't have a lot of instants or sorceries. In fact, I'm not sure we have any, but I haven't seen any, so I'm not sure how much use we'll get out of Prowess here. Alhammerit is just so expensive. He's good, but he's so expensive, and we need to focus artifacts, so we'll grab that. We'll take Enthralling Victor here. We'll take 2 Enthralling Victors. Deck, you're literally killing me here. No, not figuratively, literally. I am dying inside as I look at this. I don't think we have a lot of 5-drops so far, so I guess we'll take the Owl? No, if I was doing 5 drops, if I'm doing 5 drops without any instants or sorceries, I'm using Sky Eel School. What is this? Oh, now I get some. I think I only own 1 Infectious Bloodlust, though. Yeah, I only own 1. And it kind of only is good if you have multiples. So here, I think the Frost Lynxes might merit an inclusion. Abbot of Carol Keep will probably make the cut. Another Frost Lynxes, get our 3 drops up. Not sure Disperse is worth it. We'll throw an Act of Treason. And Fiery Impulse, yes please. Can I throw Active Treason back and try to get something better? No? Okay, fine, we'll stick with it. So now we do the mana base, and it's going to be terrible because Deck Wizard. I'm okay with the Foundry of the Consoles, but is there any way I can veto this Rogue's Passage? Please? I'm asking nicely. Nope. Alright, we'll roll with it. Yeah, this fishy person looks okay. And we'll go ahead and grab a much more vibrant red background to suggest Thopters, call it the right tools, and see if we go in here with Modify. Maybe we can try to improve our mana base just a little. I'm asking nicely. No, we can't. Oh, fine. Alright, we'll roll with it. Alright, let's head into it, and I'll see you in game number 1. So we set ourselves to hard difficulty and we head into game number 1. We're going to scrap through 4 episodes and what will be not 4 episodes, 4 battles and what will be a 2-part series, both of which will end with a crack-a-pack. So we go ahead and keep a hand here that has a 2-drop and a 5-drop, but it has 5 lands, both our colors, and that unfortunate Rogue's Passage. Our opponent gets off to a slow start though thanks to their fetch land, and then we draw a 4-drop. So it looks like we're getting into a solid curve here. Our opponent does run out of Corpse Hauler on turn 2, but as far as 2-drops go, that's not a terribly threatening one. And then we find a 3-drop, so now we have a 3, 4, 5 curve and all the mana to spend it. That's a good spot to be in. The opponent does not attack or offer trades here, and instead plays out a Gate Creeper Vine in order to make sure they continue to find their mana. They grab a Guild Gate, and we find another creature of our own. We go ahead and tap down the Gate Creeper Vine here, as we're hoping to get through with an attack with our Mirror, and maybe have him agree to a trade with the Corpse Hauler. He's having none of it though, so he takes 1 damage. Foundry of the Consoles comes down here, which is going to create all sorts of problems for us once they can afford to cast it, and we draw Abbot of Carroll Keep, who we decide to hold off for a while in order to try to play it, hopefully hit a land, and then be able to cast something else for free. We swing in for 3 more damage here. Liliana, Heretical Healer, comes out next, and she's going to cause problems for us. We find our own Foundry of the Consoles, which we go ahead and play, and then we play our 3/3. We choose not to attack. The opponent plays another Evolving Wilds and immediately goes and fetches themselves another green source. And here's Outland Colossus, a 6/6 who, if he hits us, gets Renown 6, becoming a 12/12. That ends a game really fast if it's not answered. So we go ahead and play Gear for Gearcrafter here in order to get another artifact online. I check there to make sure this isn't the guy who gives them haste, and it isn't. So a 6/6 is difficult to get past, and the 2/3 who also gives lifelink, that's no walk in the park either. We go ahead and block though here with our Mirror, which we go ahead and use to kill the Gate Creeper Vine just to get it out of the way, and that triggers Liliana to flip over to her Planeswalker side. Our opponent forces us to discard a card and we get rid of Abbot. At this point we need the bigger threat that the Sky Eel School provides. Our opponent also has a ton of mana, so here come Rock Smaulers and all sorts of other things to absolutely ruin our day. We get to draw and discard here, discarding that land that we don't need. Unfortunately, we're still in a situation where, now thanks to the 4/4 Maulers, we can't really attack or do anything. So we just go ahead and make some sacrifices that must be made here in order to keep Liliana off the table. And we successfully knock her out. The opponent plays yet another Corpse Hauler and a Cruel Revival, which is unfortunate as it kills our flyer in one of our best ways to defend. We also are now completely tapped out with no defenders, so he gets in for a ton of damage and both the Rock Smaulers and the Colossus become renowned. We're now staring down the barrel of a 12/12 and a 6/6 with Trample, so we go ahead and run out Esperzoa and Aspiring Aeronaut, and for reasons that I don't quite remember, I decide to attack here with a Thopter, even though I really should have held back everything. Especially since our opponent can play Thopters of their own next turn. A 12/12 is difficult to deal with, so I go ahead and just chump block here. But that isn't really going to be enough, especially now as I have to start returning a creature every turn. So I bounce a card with Esperzoa, but I get fortunate in that I can play my Mirror and this artifact again this turn to keep my defenders up. I also go ahead and attack here, but my opponent is wise to it and they create some Thopters to block with. And unfortunately at this point I have spread myself too thin and can no longer block properly, so the opponent just turns everything sideways, and even though we do our best blocks possible, we still unfortunately wind up losing game number 1. That's alright though. So we've seen what our opponent's capable of here, and we know that, hey, 12/12s, it's not good for us. But we're going to play again. We're going to try the same opponent again, because now that we know what she's up to, I have a good feeling that this time we can take her. Once again, our opponent will be playing first, and we have another solid hand here with a good curve, as well as a way to make extra artifacts with our Foundry. And enthralling Victor showing up when he did certainly doesn't hurt. The plan is probably to Gear for Gearcrafter into the Mongrel, who will then become a 5/3 Trample, which can end the game very quickly. And we get a Frost Lynx here, so that if our opponent does have a dicey turn 3 play, we can just shut it down to buy ourselves some time. Gate Creeper Vine is not something we're terribly worried about, but it does mean our opponent will make their land this turn when it looked like they may have stumbled, which is too bad for us. We go ahead and get our aeronaut out, so we now have a 2-1 on the ground and a 1-1 in the air, and another Gate Creeper Vine finds our opponent another land, which they immediately play. He's lucky he's drawn those, as otherwise he would have completely whiffed. And unfortunately, he only has one card to try to find a land, but he finds one, so he gets himself a Foundry of the Consoles as well. I also go ahead and play Scrapyard Mongrel here, and since I'm not worried about our opponent choosing to block, I attack. He doesn't block though, so we get through for all 3 of our damage. I was kind of hoping he would block to get rid of one of the Gate Creepers, and here's Evolutionary Leap and another Foundry of the Consoles and an Accursed Spirit. Our opponent has ramped into big threats early. However, we're in a decent position to deal with it, as we have Frostlinks to tell the other creature that, nah, we'll deal with you later. So we get through for more big attacks here, and our opponent does go ahead and choose to sacrifice one of their Gate Creepers in order to block some damage. Since he was tapped out though, he couldn't use Evolutionary Leap. And since it's now our turn, we drop a Juggernaut in order to keep applying pressure to the opponent. Well, here's Unholy Hunger to destroy our Scrapyard Mongrel, which is unfortunate, and he sacrifices his other Gate Creeper Vine to avoid even more damage, but instead of letting it simply die, he uses Evolutionary Leap and finds yet another one. Here he plays it to go ahead and get himself yet another land. He takes a swamp, he plays the swamp. Here's a Corpse Hauler, and a Shambling Ghoul. That Shambling Ghoul looks like it's got eyes for Victor though, and we're going to borrow him. Get through, once again, continuing to try to get through for as much damage as possible, and with the higher toughness on that creature, it means the opponent will either have to make unfortunate trades with themselves or take massive damage. So Corpse Hauler trades with our links. He goes ahead and finds a Gaia's Revenge after sacrificing the Gate Creeper Vine, and he has to kill our Juggernaut with his unblockable creature. So he gets the Ghoul back, but it isn't going to do him much good. So here's Nissa's Revelation, right? He gets to get a 4/4, so he draws 4 cards and gains 4 life. Have I mentioned how sick I am of this guy? I'm sick of this guy. Anyway, we go ahead and find Aspiring Aeronaut here, who we go ahead and play out in order to get another Thopter and to keep flying. We also attack with Victor here, offering a trade, which he takes. He goes down to 8. So we've got a decent number of flyers here who can end this in short order. Unfortunately, our opponent has a way to make plenty of flyers all their own, and a Gilt Leaf Winnower comes down to shoot one of our flyers out of the sky. Our opponent has a lot of cards in their hand at this point, and this turn I meant to also keep the mana up for my Thopters, but I wasn't paying attention to what was being tapped, so unfortunately we are now a turn behind as we did not get to make our 2 Thopters this turn. The opponent holds back, and it seems to be they are having a hard time thinking here. They play Outland Colossus after a long wait, letting them draw a card, and then they play Corpse Hauler, just to continue to build up their field. No, they play 2 Corpse Haulers, excuse me. Unfortunately, all we're finding is lands, but our opponent's at only 6 life. So I do some quick math here and realize that no, I can't make my creature unblockable and activate the Foundry this turn, so I decide that going ahead and doing the Foundry is the much more important play. And hey, we just got an achievement. Neat. So, 2 more damage, putting our opponent down to 4. We have that much power flying next turn, and our life total is high enough that even if they attack with everything, we'll live. Nevertheless, though, I decided to just go ahead and chump here with the Mirror and throw 2 damage at our opponent, just to make sure that even if they make some flyers of their own, we'll be able to get the damage through. I make my creature unblockable using Rogue's Passage, once again, just as insurance. And then, I attack with everybody in a final Death or Glory attack. And it worked! Yeah! Alright, so we get our 15 gold and go to the results screen, and hey! It looks like it counted both the Archetype Paragon quests, so we got 2 things done at once. Useful. Alright, let's go open a pack. We still have a minimum of 3 battles to go in order to complete this daily quest, but we're going to leave the video off here to keep its length from getting too long, and in order to have something to get us through the weekend. I'll be out of town, so I want to make sure y'all have something to watch. Alright, so in today's pack we have Calculated Dismissal. I don't know, for my 3 mana, I'd rather just run something that's a straight hard counter, as I don't think the Spell Mastery makes this one particularly worthwhile. I'll stick to Cancel. Nantuko Husk, which I think I've talked about before on this channel, but if not, I'll reiterate, he is so difficult to block. Because if you don't block the Nantuko Husk, you can just eat your own other creatures in order to get through for massive damage. But if they do block it, you'll eat just enough to win the combat. The dude's tricky, and he's a lot of fun. Okay, it's rock maulers. I don't have to tell you, they're good. I have complained enough about these guys, about how they're everywhere and extremely efficient. 5/4/4 trample that become a 6/4/4, or become a 6/6 trample. It's pretty good. Throwing Knife is such a fun uncommon. It's probably the best piece of equipment currently on offer in the game. Giving your creature +2/+0 for a pretty cheap play and equip cost is extremely useful. And the fact that you can sacrifice it just to do 2 damage exactly where you need it, exactly when you need it, cannot be overstated. It's just a fun flavor card. Shaman of the Pack is of course a staple in green-black elf decks, as a 3/2 for 3 is already okay, and he's guaranteed to do at least 1 damage to the opponent when he enters the battlefield just by counting himself. And in a deck with a bunch of elves, that can add up in a really big hurry. Do not miss this guy. And finally, we find Molten Vortex as our rare. This is a cool little card, especially in the late game, where you don't need more lands, and this basically lets you turn every single land you draw into shock. 2 damage wherever you want it. It can be used to wrap up games in a big hurry or clear the opponent's board, and it just gives you something to do with the lands that you're normally just sitting there going, another? Fine. Okay. This is a great use for them, and I think this is a very underrated card that I think has a lot of potential for abuse. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'll gonna get to recording the other 3 ones to upload sometime this weekend. Thanks for watching.